Hey everybody, how's it going? Barry here, and today we're going to be talking about Incubus. I know I'm doing this a little bit later than I wanted to. There's only a little over a day left at the time of recording this video for the Incubus Rebirth Vessel. Oops. But better late than never. Yeah, so let's just go right into this. I hope you are all being safe and self-isolating and all that stuff, you know, or social whatever it's called. I don't remember. Stay safe and clean and all that, you know? Anyway, here's Fire Evo 1, Evo 2, and Evo 3. First off, before we go into it, I do love the concept of an Incubus. I think that's great. I love the lore behind it. Basically a reverse Succubus sort of thing, you know? Very cool, very cool. Love it. Anyway, back to the game. Here's the variant. There we are. And I like the regular more because the variant goes that weird magenta, but like super neon color that we see from a lot of fire mons that I don't really like. It's just too strong of a color, you know? Also, I hate that Incubus flies up so high with his animation because it's going to make getting the thumbnail image kind of lame. It's going to probably be just him just standing there. And I'd love to do a dynamic one. Like, he does a cool pose when he does this, but you can't see. You can't see half his body when he does it. Anyway, looking at his stats, Fire Incubus is a balance type. He actually has pretty good HP for an F4 balance type. His attack is okay, and his defense is okay as well. Nothing special there, but nothing terrible, so it's alright. Looking at his skills, so first off, the leader skill for Incubus is defense up, 30 to 35%, which is decent for pretty much all of them. There's no particular well, actually, it's probably most useful for water, but all of them would appreciate it. So it's not a tough decision of like, or it's not a guaranteed, like you need, if you get a variant, you have to make this one the variant, you know? You can make anyone the variant, whichever you prefer. Going to the 3-star, we have attack down, 70% 2 turns on crit. Skill books make it 80%, give a 20% damage boost. And then on 5-star, we have Courageous Strike on crit, and skill books give a 20% damage boost there. Where you want to use it? Titans. This combo is really only useful for Titans, but it is really good for Titans, so very nice. How I'd build it: offensive. Keep in mind, it is crit required. Both its skills have that critical hit need for it, so you need a square slot for your Fire Incubus if you plan to use it, just to make gemming easier. And then I would go crit rate attack, crit rate attack, crit damage. You can go crit rate attack, HP, crit rate attack, defense if you need to, or if you don't have good enough attack, crit damage gems to go crit attack, crit damage. But preferably you'd want to get your defenses from, what's it called? Trinkets, yeah. Now, something I do want to note about him is just I really don't like when a mon is crit required and it has something like attack down or whatever that's not at 100%. That's really annoying to me. Like if we look at Water, sure, it's crit required on its 3-star, but it's a 100% 2-turn stun. So the crit requirement is okay because it has such an OP skill. Whereas with Incubus, like, it's crit required, but its attack down only goes to 80% 2 turns, which is pretty lame. So, I don't know. That's just me. You know, you'd want to build Incubus with crit rate anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter too much, but, like, if you don't have him at max crit, kind of lame. But I do use Fire Incubus, I do have one, and I will definitely showcase an example of how to build it after we go through the rest of them. But anyway, let's move on to Water. And in my opinion, Water is the least desirable of the Incubus, or Incubi, whichever it would be. But we'll get into why after we look through him, or look over him. So here's the regular, and the variant. I like the variant, because I like the lighter blue of his jacket. Stat-wise, he is a tank, and he has an okay HP stat for a tank. Nothing crazy there. His defense is really good for a tank. Getting close to that, like, balanced range for defense stats. His his attack is okay as well. Nothing crazy there, but nothing low. It's pretty good, middle of the road. Looking at the skills, on 3-star we have Adrenaline, 20% own HP. Skillbooks make it 25% and give a 20% damage boost. Then on 5-star we have Taunt, 80% one turn. Skillbooks make it 100%, give a 15% damage boost. Where you'd want to use it? PvP. PvP is really the only place that he'd be able to do anything of note. And how I would build him: HP defense, HP defense. You can go either, but preferably you do want to go more HP, just because his 3-star is sort of centered around his HP stat. So if his max HP goes up to 60k, you're only going to be healing what? If your max HP goes up to 80k, you'll be healing, if fully skillbook, you'll be healing 20k with your 3-star. But if you have your HP at 100k, you'll be healing 25,000 HP, you know? So, yeah, you definitely want to have higher HP just so he heals more with his 3-star. The taunt is pretty good just because it is 100% after skill books, but taunt on its own, you know, when we have fearless taunt around, is not the best, so that's something to keep in mind there. Overall, I do think he's pretty decent, but he'll definitely fall off in PvP, especially compared to the other water tanky defensive mons that we have, like Wildfang and Persephone, Nightmare, things like that. Griffin even. So yeah, he'll do good if you don't have those mons, but if you do have one of them, I would definitely go with them over him. But let's move on to Wood. Where is it? There we are. And here's the variant. I like the regular. The variant color scheme looks weird. I don't like it. It's kind of like a type of green that humans can make with their bodies that I don't want to say the actual word of. Stat-wise, he's an attacker. He has pretty good attack stat. His HP is good as well. And his defense is actually really good. So overall, his stats are pretty good for an Nat4. Especially that defense. That defense is a lot higher than I was expecting. Looking at his skills, on 3-star we have Morale Boost. 30%, Morale Boost, 50% on crit. And then on 5-star we have Hunter, 30%. Skill boosts give a 20% damage boost across the board. Before I continue with Wood, I did forget to mention with Water why I said he was probably the prime candidate for leader skill, and that's just because he is a tanky mon, and having a defense up leader skill is very good for him. Whereas the rest of the Incubus are like offensive mons, so defense up leader skill is good, but it's not like ideal. You'd rather have attack up, crit damage up, crit rate up, something like that, you know? But anyway, back to Wood Incubus, where you'd want to use him. First off, farming is where he shines. He does his best in farming any story content with water mons, GB7 as well, the water stone dungeon. And you can also use him in Titans as a wood attacker. Just keep in mind, in that specific place, he will definitely fall off very early, especially when you start to get Unflinching Strike, Courageous Strike mons. It's like Wood Alpaca, who's around right now. You can also use him for PvP offense, but keep in mind he will fall off there as well, just because his skills aren't too strong. The morale boost is great, but his crit requirement holds it back because we do have crit res, and then also his hunter is a little low compared to other mons that we see, like Wood Anubis, for example, has 50% hunter, which infinitely better. So yeah, well, not infinitely, it's only 20% better, but you get what I mean. Something to keep in mind, though, is if you do use your Wood Incubus for farming, his 3-star animation is very slow. So for that first turn, second turn, or however many turns it takes for him to get his bar full, ideally you would want him on a siphon set, so he'd be using his 3-star as little as possible. But when he's using his 3-star, it will slow down your runs. But his 5-star animation is very fast, so does balance out a little, so you're definitely going to want to try to invest in a siphon set if you're going to be using him. Just because, again, the 3-star animation will slow down your runs. How I build it offensively: crit rate, attack, crit rate, attack, crit damage. He does need a square slot, so don't forget when you're evolving him up, make sure you evolve one with a square. And yeah, since you're going to be using him for farming, you don't really need a defensive gem, because you really just want to go full glass with your farming wands. So yeah, just crit rate, attack, crit rate, attack, crit damage would be the best thing for you to do there. Now, let's move on to light. Where are you? There we are. Okay, so here's the regular and the variant. I like them both, but I'm going to go with the variant. So he's an attacker. He has a good attack stat, good HP stat, and an okay defense stat. Overall, pretty good stat. Sorry, dog was going crazy. Someone's knocking at the door. Overall, stats, pretty good. Well, really good stats overall. Looking at the skills, on 3-star we have HP Siphon. Now this is a weird one, for him specifically. It's not a weird skill, just for his overall build. It makes him a bit interesting. But it is a HP Siphon that restores allies' HP, proportionate to the damage dealt. Skill boosts give a 20% damage boost there. Then on 5-star we have Shock, 80% one turn. Sorry if my chair is creaking like crazy. Skill boost make it 90% and give a 20% damage boost. So, well, first off, where you want to use him, he does well in PvP, offense or defense, and we'll get more into that in a moment. You can use him for farming, just to keep your team alive, in place of a passive healer, you know. Something to keep in mind is that his heal might not be as strong as a passive healer, like a Water Persephone or something, but he'll also have much more of an offensive presence. So, might be able to speed up your runs, just make them a little less reliable, maybe. Specifically in GB10, DB7, DB10, things like that. Whereas also with DB10, the shock can be useful, depending if you're able to get in the first line or the first wave, whatever. You can also use him in Dark Colossus, because having that HP Siphon, be able to keep your team alive, goes against the gimmick of the Colossus of anti-healers, you know. And then also, you can use him in Titans just as a light attacker, but of course he will fall behind very quickly as you get Courageous Strike and Flinching Strike mons, even mons with Hunter or Predator, and things like that. Any damage boosting skill, really. Now, how to build it. First off, you can go offensively and take advantage of that HP Siphon, because of course it is damage based, so the more damage you do, the more you and your allies heal. So that's one. And then 2, you can go somewhat of a more bruiser build-ish if you do use him for PvP, just because you want him to live long enough to be able to utilize that shock, something like that, which is the only way that it'd really be useful for PvP defense, is if you do build him a bit more tanky. His HP Siphon won't do really anything in that scenario, but his shock, of course, being 90% AoE, would be pretty good. Though I feel like his potential lies more in offense, definitely. I don't have one myself. I did just Evo 3 one right now, or just earlier today. Haven't built it up or anything yet to test it out on my own. But when Incubus was first introduced, people did test him out a lot, and something that people have noted is that he doesn't heal too much. His heal is okay, but it's not like something crazy. So you're definitely going to need to put a lot into his offensives, or into his damage. So, yeah. It requires a lot, but it has good potential, is what I mean to say. How I build him, you can, as I said, offensively, you can go crit rate, attack, crit rate, attack, crit damage. I was unfortunate in the one that I summoned. I don't have a square, but I was also lucky that he was a variant, so I don't know. Triple attack is something that could work, but I don't think it would be too good in comparison to something like crit rate, attack, or crit rate, attack, crit damage for him specifically. But anyway, let's move on to the last of the Incubi, Dark Incubi, which, here we are. There's the regular and the variant, and not much changes. Just his colors just get a bit darker. So yeah, I like the variant more, I guess. Looking at the stats, he's an attacker. He has a good attack stat, good defense stat, alright HP. Its defense is a lot higher than most Nat 4 attackers, which is very nice. Looking at the skills, on 3-star we have HP Siphon again, but this one's different. Instead of healing for the team for a regular amount, it heals himself for a great amount. Skill books give a 20% damage boost there. And then on 5-star we have Seal, 80% 2 turns. Skill books make it 90%, give a 15% damage boost there. And where you want to use him, you can pretty much use him in the same places that you can use Light, with some differences. So one, PvP, of course, farming as well, just being able to keep himself alive and being a dark attacker, though he does worse there than Light would, just because Light can support the team, whereas Dark can't. Though Dark would have higher damage, but I don't know, it's a give and take. Then also DB10 is another place, just being able to keep himself alive. The Seal, I don't know how useful Seal would be against DB10. I don't know if the dragon is immune to Seal, but it'd be interesting if he's not, so that's something to definitely check out. Then also Dark Colossus, going against the Colossus gimmick, you know, being able to heal himself. Going against Light Colossus as well, just being a dark attacker, be very nice. And then Titans as well, just as a dark attacker, but will fall off when you get damage boosting sealed dark attackers. How I would build him offensively is the go-to, being a dark attacker, having a damage required skill with his 3-star. You want him to be able to hit as hard as possible. He has the same 3-star skill as, say, Fire Succubus, and my Fire Succubus, if she crits, she'll do enough damage to pretty much fully heal herself, so I assume Dark Incubus would be about the same in terms of how much he heals. So, building fully offensively, crit rate, attack, crit rate, attack, crit damage, something like that. Though, you can also, if you use him for PvP, specifically PvP defense, which I don't recommend, but it is semi-viable just because his seal, you would want to build him a bit more bulkier, so like, I'd say a bruiser build, HP attack defense, just so he can tank as much as possible and spread his seal. But something that I'd keep in mind is that seal is okay, but it's nothing amazing. So while using him for defense for his seal is an option, it's not necessarily a good one. You really want to use him offensively. And that is it for all the Incubi. I'll showcase my Fire Incubus real quick. Here he is. I did have him built up for a long time. I got him like the first time Incubus came around, but he wasn't a variant. I managed to pull a variant earlier with this current rebirth we have going on, and I just threw it there. I did also get the variant Light, but that was the one from the egg at 15 pulls, which was just really lucky RNG on my part. Here he is. But, see, squareless. Haven't built him up or anything, though, because it was just earlier today. But let's go back to Fire real quick. Where was he? There we are. So here we are, crit rate. No good subs here. Well, has an attack sub, has a crit damage sub, pretty good. But, like, the numbers are very low. Your crit rate, very low crit rate on this attack gem. I definitely need to replace it. But I do have a lot of crit rate on this HP gem, and that's the only reason I'm using it. Ideally, I would switch this to an attack gem, and also switch the other attack gem I have, just to try to keep his crit rate up, but getting better substats and more damage. With this gem build he has right now, he has 99% crit rate, so I don't really want to change it just yet until I can maintain that. Here's the trinkets. I didn't upgrade them, I just put them on. I'll upgrade them eventually. Anyway, here's his overall stats. Not super great for an offensive mon, but he does live quite long, and he spreads his attack down, which is very nice. So there's that. And I do have him fully booked, so. If I'm to rank the Incubi in order, or in terms of which one you should prioritize building, my number one is Fire, just because he is a really good mon for Titans. He's no Fire Shinobi, you know, who has the same kit, just reversed and no crit requirement. But, and of course has better rates because he's a Nat 5 in terms of his attack down. But Incubus is very good, especially early mid-game, for helping increase your damage for your fire team against Wood Titan. Next, I would put Light, because it is a pretty good attacker, being able to heal itself and its team, very nice, and then Shock AoE is always great. Next, I put Dark. Now, Dark would have higher damage and a higher self-heal, but Seal is what holds it back. Seal isn't that great in comparison to Shock, of course. Shock is way better. Next, I would put Wood, because Wood is a very good farming mon, though its animation speed on its 3-star is very slow, and its Hunter isn't that high, so its damage won't be super amazing. Then, we have Water last. Water's not bad, but it's nothing amazing, and I did forget that I do have a Wood Incubus as well, so I can also showcase that. But mine is not built that great. I do have him on a Siphon set, which is good, but his crit rate is way too low, because I'm very unlucky in terms of Siphon gems that I don't really get crit rate ones. Siphon gems, Leech gems, I'm very unlucky with crit rate ones, especially 6-star, so yeah. This is what I'm using him for now. I do have a decent crit rate sub there, and then this one as well has a crit rate sub, but it's very small, so I definitely need to improve it, and I'm working on booking him up so that I can increase his damage. Here's his overall stats, which his attack stat is really nice, but that crit rate for mine holds him back from really being efficient with farming, just because, of course, his skills are crit required. But yeah, that's going to be it for this one, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that. Leave any feedback, questions, whatever in the comments below. Stay safe, have yourselves a good day, and I'll see you guys all in the next one.